How would you feel if one day you were to wake up in an unknown place? Well, that's exactly what happened to the protagonist of the story. One day, he woke up feeling the coldness lingering around his body. As he opens his eyes, he's in deep shock as he sees himself alone in a spaceship out in a vast galaxy. He starts to wonder if this is just a dream, but for it to feel so real made him think otherwise. He then tries to remember what he did prior to the event. Just like usual, he came home from work, ate his food, took a bath, played some games, and slept. As the realization struck him, he then avails to notice that the place he was now looked exactly the same as the game he was playing last night called Stella Online. Stella Online is an online game with a taste of sci-fi and has a very high degree of freedom. Players can be adventurers traveling the vast universe. They can also be merchants granted a container ship. This game is such a popular game to many, and that's why finding himself inside it made him excited. As a player in the said game, he is already a standard mercenary player who has already acquired his favorite ship, ASX-08 Krisha. That's why experiencing being inside one really made him happy. However, the coldness makes the experience a little less favorable. While he contemplates what happened to him, he feels like it is not unusual to dream about a game one has been playing. That's why he somehow concluded that he must be having a lucid dream of some sort. However, there is no sign of him waking up though, and he also feels the changes in the room temperature. That's why he is quite sure that what he is experiencing now is probably not a dream. As he starts to feel gloomy, he entertains himself by playing with the ship's steer. But before he even tries to move the joysticks and the pedal, he first checks the map, trying to know his current location. But it seems like his location is nowhere to be found. He also notices that he has no money, but the good thing is that he still has some food to eat. But there is one thing that really caught his attention: the rare metals. In the world of Seoul, there is a chronic shortage of rare metals, so they are very highly valued commodities. It's very easy to trade these metals for NL in any colony or station. This NL is the game's electronic currency. It doesn't have the hassle that comes with using physical currency, but its downside is that every transaction is logged. That's why what some people do to avoid these logs is they start to go crazy about getting rare metals instead. Then, a warning alarm starts to echo through the ship. An image then pops out with the person asking our main protagonist some questions. This man is from another ship and is eyeing to get every inch of our protagonist's cargo. However, instead of just giving them, he asks the man if he is willing to buy the cargo instead. However, the pirate obviously disagreed with such an offer. He even threatens our protagonist that he'll get killed if he's not to follow orders. That's why, when our protagonist has already had enough, he steers the ship away from them as fast as he can. The protagonist's ship then transforms into this weaponized-like ship. The pirate then starts to sweat due to nervousness as the protagonist's ship steers towards him. As the ship fires continuously at the pirate ship, it ends up exploding like hell. After the intense brief fight scene, our protagonist can't deny the fact that with all the moving and swirling, it really made him sick. However, that wasn't really bothering him since he noticed and somehow confirmed his theory that he might not be in a dream after all, considering that even after all that happened, he still hasn't woken up yet. Now that he has already confirmed he's in the real deal, as he thinks about it, he might not be in such a bad situation. After all, his ship is a top-of-the-line ship in Seoul. It's very nimble and maneuverable, but its firepower is on par with heavy cruisers. That's why even if so many pirate ships start to attack him all at once, counterattacking wouldn't be a problem with him, considering his ship is clearly on a completely different level from those pirate ships, as seen in the last battle. So he starts to analyze that if he is a mercenary in Seoul, he should be able to make a living the same way he did in the game. As he checks his pad, he sees that the reward for taking down those pirates is 19,000 enel. If he refills his energy, replenishes his ammo, and services the ship, he'll still get some change back. He also checks on the cargo he has recovered from the pirate ship. As the data runs, he's able to find a map he can use to navigate the area. With all the information he has about the pirates by just looking at the data, he starts to check where he can sell this information and collect his reward. He then notices that there's a trade colony nearby. That's why he decides to visit it himself. As he arrives at the said place called Termine Prime, the system starts to ask for his identity since it doesn't read one. He then starts to think of a name he'll use. Since he feels like his name Sato Takahiro doesn't fit this world, after a brief second, he ends up choosing the name Hiro, an official new mercenary that will face the galaxy. After he landed on the said trade colony, instead of getting compensated for his rare items, he ended up getting interrogated by one of the colonies in charge. Hiro continuously asks where he gets the said rare items. It seems like no one believes that he got all of it from fighting some pirate, considering his identity is still vague and empty. Other than his name, he doesn't have any personal information that the colony can check on. However, before anything even takes longer than it already is, a girl with authority named Serena enters the room. After seeing an unfamiliar ship in the hangar bay, Serena quickly got curious about the new guest. As she checks on Hiro's information and purpose, she sees to it that Hiro is properly compensated for his collection of rare metals. Serena states that as long as there's no proof of the cargo getting stolen, Hiro should be accommodated just like the others, even if his identity is still unknown. After all, the colony and Hiro will benefit from each other nonetheless. Serena also sees to it that the colony staff gets warned for demanding bribes from the guest entering the colony. She sees to it that as the daughter of Marquis Horse, she will make sure to punish those involved in such crimes. That said, the colony staff immediately do as Serena says and leaves the room. Now that they are all alone inside the room, Serena says she apologizes for the staff's rude behavior. She also states that she feels like Hiro came from another universe, looking at his blank data. Hiro then tries to explain that he must have lost his memory while he was in a hyperdrive. However, this even made Serena even more suspicious, considering how Hiro remembered he must have been caught up in a hyperdrive if he lost his memory. However, instead of interrogating him endlessly, she just let it slide. But it seems like she can't stop speculating that Hiro might be a spy from another system. Hiro then quickly shuts down this claim, saying that if he were indeed a spy, he would make an effort to be as discreet as possible instead of showing himself to the authorities right off the bat. After their brief conversation, Serena then went on her way while Hiro went to get his reward. After he runs the number, he's sure that he'll be able to live for more than 40 years in the said universe, even if he doesn't do anything. As he compares his life to the real world, it's clear that he'll have a more blissful one in this one. Days passed and Hiro kept on researching about the unknown galaxy. It turns out that he is in the Termine star system, which is a system composed of 4 planets, the asteroid belt and the primary star Termine. He also learned that the system was under the control of the powerful Kraken Empire. Still, in relation to that, the neighboring Belbaron Federation has been in tension with the said empire for years already. That's why Hiro plans to fly to another star system to avoid getting caught up in the upcoming conflict. But since he still has plenty of time, he decides to explore the colony first. He is in awe as he witnesses a magnificent view that he only sees in anime and games. While he is out and about, he is able to run into some suspicious looking gangsters, but after showing his powerful weapon, they immediately run off their way. However, before Hiro can even start his tour, he meets an elf-looking girl named Elma, who is also a mercenary. Elma asks Hiro to come with her while killing some time before the conflict. Even though she is so suspicious, Hiro just thinks that Elma might be the way he could learn more about the daily life of people in the colony. After knowing that Hiro is an unlicensed mercenary, Elma is quick to respond that he must be registered with some guild if he doesn't want to have any problems in the future. She then takes him into her guild office, where Hiro is able to find out that Elma is already in her 50s. When they finally get to the said office, Hiro immediately registered his name and spaceship to the system. Even the guild operator is shocked to see that Hiro doesn't have any sort of history at all. Hiro then immediately reasons that he lost his memory the same way he did with Serena. After he is finally registered, he must undergo some simulation tests to check up on his rank. For some reason, Elma smirks secretively as she thinks that Hiro couldn't possibly rank higher than her. However, after the said simulation, Hiro made the operator and Elma was shocked as his combat ranking reached gold with just one try. This made Elma furious and jealous since she had worked hard for 5 years to reach her current ranking, which is still silver. To ease the heavy feeling that Elma feels, considering Hiro has surpassed her even if she's been in the game longer than him, Hiro asks for her help to fetch some groceries. While they are at the grocery, Hiro is in shock after he learns that there's no carbonated drinks in outer space. That's why he aims to buy a house with a garden on the planet in hopes that he'll find his favorite drink in the whole universe. Elma quickly shuts him off, saying that there's no way he's able to do so, considering it will cost millions of enel to even have a piece of land on the planet. However, instead of thinking negatively, Hiro tries to look at the bigger picture and makes it a motivation to work harder. After they got some groceries, as they were already on their way back to the guild, they passed by some group of men trying to force themselves onto a young-looking elf girl. As a natural instinct, Hiro tries to jump into action and help the helpless girl. However, Elma immediately stops him from doing so, stating that minding one's business is very common in a place like this. However, Hiro can't possibly let it slide not to help someone in need. As a result, instead of just leaving and not helping, he gets his gun and fires it at one of the guys. He then threatens to shoot their balls if they don't leave. Scared of what might happen, the guys immediately run off, leaving the elf girl all safe. Elma then asks Hiro what he plans to do with the girl. However, it seems like Hiro himself doesn't know what to do next. All frightened and unsure what to do, the two decided to take the elf girl to some restaurant to buy her something to eat. As the conversation about what Hiro would do with the girl continues, as Hiro can't say a word about his plan, Elma dashes out and is about to leave the place. Then Hiro provokes her by trying to step on her pride. As a result, Elma rushes back to the table, now eager to help the said girl. She starts off by asking the girl what's her name, which turns out to be Mimi. It seems like Mimi doesn't have anyone she can count on. That's why Elma quickly plans to let her stay in Hiro's ship, considering he was the one who saved her after all. However, it seems like other than the fact that Mimi will do all the chores, Elma also plans to make her satisfy Hiro every night. Such a statement made Hiro caught off guard. Elma then asks how Mimi ended up in the 3rd block. Mimi then explains to the two about the unfortunate event that happened to her parents. It turns out that Mimi's parents died all of a sudden due to an accident at work. They were in charge of servicing the colony's oxygen infrastructure. That's why when an accident took place, Mimi's parents were blamed for it and were saddled with reparations that far exceeded her inheritance. As a student, she can't possibly pay all her parents' debt. As a result, she ends up living on the streets. She was then chased out into the 3rd block. That's why she is seen roaming the area. After hearing this, Hiro immediately visited the 3rd block's public management office with Mimi in hopes that she'll get her inheritance back. However, as the officer tries to provoke Hiro, Hiro ends up paying the 500,000 enel debt of Mimi's parents. That said, Hiro now has decided to take Mimi onto his ship. Elma also bought her a change of clothes. Before she leaves, Elma whispers something in Mimi's ear that makes Hiro curious. As night falls, Mimi takes a fresh shower while drowned in her deep talks. It seems like what Elma said earlier keeps on bothering her. As they were eating their dinner, Hiro was quick to notice that Mimi seemed very spaced out. Mimi then assures him that she's alright. She then builds up the courage to ask Hiro about his plans for the night. Hiro then states that after eating and showering, he'll probably go to bed already. Hiro didn't really think of it that much. However, he is shocked when Mimi enters his room looking hot, with her cleavage showing in her tight little nightgown. Mimi then tells him that she is ready to fulfill her duty. Hiro then assures her that he isn't after such a thing. But even after hearing such assurance, Mimi states that she's just scared that she'll get abandoned once again. However, it seems like Mimi has already made up her mind and is ready to satisfy Hiro in her own right. Waking up with Mimi by his side seems surreal to Hiro. Regardless of what happened, this is where they are now. He can't just act as he pleases and only thinks of himself. Now that he has Krisha and his status as a mercenary, and considering his funds are not looking too bad, Hiro feels that he is already blessed with such things he has. Although he had spent money, having Mimi by his side wouldn't really put him under such a serious financial strain. But he can't just simply live for the sake of living. He still aims to buy a detached house with a garden, and now that Mimi is by his side, he aims to have it even more. Now that there are two of them, they must go and do some chores while they still can. They went on to get some groceries and headed out to get some clothes for Mimi. Hiro also decided to take Mimi to the guild office to register her as his crew member. The guild operator cannot contain his enviousness towards Hiro for reaching such a high ranking, even if it was his first time, and also finding such a cute crewmate overnight. After the tension lowers, Elma then informs Hiro that there's a large-scale suppression happening. It's one of the events where players cooperate to complete an objective. And of course, Hiro wouldn't allow himself not to participate in such a tasty event. A few days later, 1 hour before the operation starts, Hiro is preparing a ship for the said event. Serena's image then pops out on the screen as she explains the flow of the operation. After discovering a space pirate base in the Gamma sector of the asteroid belt, mercenaries are assigned to bombard it. However, that isn't the problem. Considering pirates' bases are already weak, the army wouldn't have a problem destroying it. But if small ships escape, the army wouldn't be able to chase after them considering how big their ships are. That's where the mercenaries come in. At this point, Hiro already realizes how the operation will work. First, the mercenary unit will hide in the area around a mark designated by the army. Then the mobile fleet will initiate a frontal bombardment. When the pirates try to escape, the mercenary unit will intercept and send them in a panic. The fleet will then take that opportunity to spread out and finish off what's left. The operation will end when the fleet confirms that their target has gone silent. When Serena asked everyone if they still had further questions, everyone went silent since her explanation was clear enough. However, Hiro, just as expected, gets everyone's attention after he asks if there's an option to withdraw. Serena abruptly sighs for a bit, then states that it is okay to withdraw. However, if they don't fight properly and run with their tail between their legs, it would be a very big problem. Hiro then states his reason for checking, since at the end of the operation, it won't be just the pirates that will be surrounded, even the mercenaries will. The operation formation they plan to follow would threaten the mercenary. It seems like the fleet is trying to let the mercenary fight to the death. However, Serena swears on her pride that as a soldier of the Star Army, she wouldn't let such a barbaric thing happen to her people. Hiro then states that he'll believe her, but it would just be a matter of time before we know whether what she said is true. On the other hand, Mimi is seen shivering in fear. It is such a natural reaction considering this is her first time going into such a big fight. Hiro then suggests to her that she should just stay in the colony if she is that scared. However, Mimi assures him that it's just a natural reaction and that she will be okay. Hiro then remembers the same feeling he had before, the feeling that everything is just a game. As Hiro is caught in his own thoughts, an announcement has already been made. To snap him back to reality, Mimi tells him that the control is already calling for takeoff. Now with that said, no matter what he is currently feeling, he'll just enjoy the event as much as he can. With that said, Krisha is now taking off. As he begins to take off, Mimi checks on the army's coordinates and the mercenaries. She looked so intense considering this was her first time with such work. However, as she looks at the view, her gloomy mood immediately brightens up as she sees such an amazing number of spaceships lining each other. Since this is a group mission that consists of different mercenaries, it's natural that they'll see different colors of ships from every angle. However, one ship really caught Mimi's attention. It looked so sleek and chic, perfect for someone as gorgeous as Mimi. She's amazed that there are ships that are all white too. Hiro then tells her that it is called the SSC-16 Galactic Swan, and in Hiro's knowledge, the ship is just a defective piece of junk. Hiro then explains that based on the looks of the ship, it is mostly made for high-speed battles. It's even faster than Krisha. However, its maneuverability is bad to the point that one can't even steer it properly. Not only that, but it is also expensive, and the servicing and repair costs are absurdly higher than any other ship. There are a lot of shady things about it, but the biggest problem is the uncontrollable rampage state. That's why in Hiro's mind, a weirdo must have been piloting it. It turns out it is Elma. This made Hiro laugh secretively. Mimi is now so worried for Elma's safety. Hiro then assures her that he is certain a self-proclaimed veteran like Elma would be alright. Hearing this made Mimi positive that Elma should be able to handle herself. As they finally reach the hideout of the space pirates, Hito realizes that it seems like the army has positioned him in an area packed with enemies, and he gets the feeling that it is intentional. Now that it is already time to start the operation, Hito arranges his composure while the army now presses the hit button. As the fleet ship ammo hit the pirates' base, it almost destroyed everything in one go. This amazes Hito very much, while Mimi is now petrified at what will happen next. Hito knows that even his Krisha can't match such range and firepower. Then a beep sound echoes the ship at the same time. Mimi informs Hito of the transmission the ship has currently been receiving. In this said report, it says small and medium-sized pirate ships are seen escaping. That's why they are now breaking the radio silence and starting the operation for real. With that said, they will now officially enter the battle. As the two of them brace for impact and shaking from high G's, Hito tries his best to chase the escaping ships. However, it seems like the pirate ships have also come prepared, sending 2 of their generic ships and 2 small-sized ships right to the Krisha's front. Hito is amazed at the fact that the pirates have some guts to face and attack his powerful ship head-on. As they got closer to Hito, with just one flick of his hand, 2 of the generic ships are sent exploding in an instant. As a result, the other 2 ships immediately try to run away to safety. However, Hito wouldn't let anyone get away from him, even if they were just modded generic ships. With that said, with all his might, he steers the ship towards the escaping ships. He's able to destroy them in one go. However, that isn't the end of the fight. As their zone started to get quiet, Hito started to get bored as well. However, it seems like most of the enemies are fighting other mercenaries. As a result, instead of slacking off and waiting for anyone to attack them, as soon as Mimi receives a report stating that enemies are engaging with other mercenary ships, Hiro immediately steers the ship towards them. Krisha then ought to support other ships by engaging in one-on-one combat with everyone. However, before they even reach the fighting zone, Hito finds themselves getting attacked by massive guided missiles. Fortunately, thanks to the other mercenaries' help, they were able to escape such a fatal fate. After that, the ships then decided to part ways as one headed back to the base to resupply. Hito then asks Mimi how things are looking. Overall, it looks like the allied forces are winning. However, close to the army, there's a fierce fight going on with 3 medium-sized ships. Hearing this made the excitement inside Hito ignite. They then went their way to head to the said location. As Hito leaves the radar and transmission to Mimi, he focuses on steering their way to the said zone. As they were finally able to get a glimpse of the said ships, it seemed like the medium-sized vehicles were remodeled civilian transport ships. Still, the medium support lasers and turrets for close quarters embedded in these said ships are no joke. For sure, Krisha would be able to defeat them in one go. However, Hito decided not to attack them from the front. Hito then instructs Mimi to take Krisha's output to the minimum, hide its debris, and take the ship to their blind side. This made Mimi wonder if the enemy might notice such changes. Hito then immediately explains that since the battlefield is full of debris, the enemy's regular radar won't be of much use. That's why they'll use heat sensors during battle to detect the heat coming from the ships and use it against the enemies. This technique is called thermal stealth in the original game. It's such a good thing that Hito is able to remember such crucial information that he can use in the battle. That said, Mimi does everything that Hito has asked for. On the other hand, the other mercenaries are starting to run low on fuel and ammo, but instead of retreating, they just keep going till they can. It seems like they can't move like they want because of the medium-sized ships scattered everywhere. Then, as an unknown ship flies out of nowhere, the mercenaries start to wonder where it came from. Hito then introduces themselves and states that they are here to help. Now that they have lost the medium-sized ships, the enemy is hightailing it. All they have to do now is to take them out in one go. After some intense fighting, the other mercenaries thank Hito for helping them, specifically his ship, but it seems like Mimi is way more popular than Hiro among the other mercenaries. As they were about to head to the next destination, a loud "No!" echoed from the transmission device. And lo and behold, what Hito had anticipated a while ago turned out to be real. It seems like Elma has eventually lost control of her aesthetic galactic swan ship. Mimi is so worried for Elma's safety, however, it seems like Hito doesn't care a bit, stating that once it goes berserk, there's nothing that can be done anymore, since even if they try to stop it, there's no ship that can catch up with it now. Elma then shouts through the transmission device that she is about to blow up. Hearing this somehow made Hito worried as well. It really did blow up, but the cockpit was so sturdy that Elma still was able to survive such an explosion. Back at the fleet ship, Serena also heard the loud bang and wondered where it came from. When she learns that it is one of the allied ships, she starts to get worried if it will affect the operation. But it seems like Elma's unfortunate situation didn't affect the operation that much. On the other hand, the fleet's operator then reports to Serena that their system has detected some unusual strength from Hito's ship. Hito is a bronze rank mercenary, but his scores are for platinum rank already. Its score is too far ahead, to the point that the operator thought there might be some mistake. Inside Serena's mind, she already knew that Hito was someone she should keep an eye on. Even on their first meeting, Hito for her didn't feel like a former army man or mercenary, but instead just a regular civilian in that sense. Now that her speculation somehow turned out to be true, she orders to get all the data the system can get on Hito. After knowing this, she's now become more interested. Meanwhile, back at Hito's ship, Mimi is able to receive a message from the army through the transmission device, stating that the operation will be over when they already have confirmation of its success. Hearing this marks Hito's fun time. Even though the main source of money for this operation comes from rewards, the cargo that the space pirates dropped and the debris are important sources of income too. With that said, Hito then immediately collects all the debris and cargo they see. One of the cargoes they were able to find was both rare and dangerous. It's called the Singing Crystal. Although it already says it's dangerous, Hito still ends up collecting it nonetheless. After all, it'd be a pain if someone found it. Singing crystals are special items that also exist in the game. When broken, it summons a large number of monsters called crystal life forms. In the game, it was an item used to start raid battles, but depending on how they use it, it may come in handy someday. Now, after collecting everything they can get, Mimi then went on to ask Hito what his life goal is. Hito then answers it by saying that he wants to have a detached house and garden on the planet. After hearing this, Mimi looks very excited and pumped up by Hito's ambitions. Hito then asked her what she wanted to do herself. She was a little bit shy. However, as her stomach growls, she then states that she wants to try eating all sorts of tasty things around the world. In short, Mimi wants to go on a gourmet conquest of the universe with Hito. After such a stressful operation, the moment that they got back to the colony, Hito helped Mimi reach her goal by taking her to buy some new kitchen appliances. While they were shopping, it seemed like the salesperson was so good at his job that they ended up buying new appliances for the whole ship instead. It wasn't really a problem for Hito considering they were able to earn much during the operation. As they make their way back to the guild office to get their chance for the rewards they had during the operation, the guild operator seems to be so jealous of Hito that even if Hito doesn't do a thing, he keeps getting furious. As a result, a female officer then steps in to accommodate Hito and Mimi's needs. After their change has been granted, the officer tries to chit-chat with the two. She states that Hito seems to be a very busy man. Hito then answers by saying that it wasn't really as much. The officer then reasons that it's probably because the star system that they are in is so safe. She even went on to say that someone as strong as Hito would probably make more money in a more dangerous star system or by simply putting together a fleet. However, Hito doesn't plan to do any of the two. The officer then got curious about what kind of relationship Hito and Mimi had. Both of them got off guard when Mimi said that Hito was her master. The disappointed look on the officer's face is so apparent that Hito tries to explain himself. The officer can't believe that such things happen in real life. She thinks that it mostly happens in light novels. She even jokingly said she would gladly join Hito's crew if he wanted. However, Mimi quickly shuts her off. Moreover, the officer then informs the two about what happened with Elma after the ship she used exploded. Although she didn't attain such deadly injuries, her bank account suffered the most. The bill for the damages the army had sent her is pretty harsh. It was light damage, but it was a battleship of the army, so it was never going to be cheap. Wonder where she is now? It seems like she's desperately trying to come up with the money. However, Hito knows that no one would lend money to a mercenary whose livelihood was turned to scrap. Mimi is so worried for Elma, but they can't do anything more about it. At this rate, she'll end up getting sent to a prison station. When they finally went back to the ship, Hito enjoyed the food cooked in the 3D food printer they had bought earlier. However, it seems like Mimi can't enjoy eating, knowing that Elma might have been starving already. Seeing how gloomy Mimi is, Hito then invites her to go for a walk. While they were already outside, Hito asked her what she wanted to do. Is it shopping or cuisine shopping? However, something caught Mimi's attention. It's none other than Elma sitting in the dirty alleyway, looking very depressed. Elma couldn't contain her embarrassment at the fact that she was now in deep debt and was about to be sent to prison. What really worries her is the fact that the prison she is going to is full of pirates caught by mercenaries like her. That's why she is quite aware of the fact that her stay there wouldn't be peaceful at all. Since there's no way she can ever pay the 3 million annual debt she has in 2 hours, even though it hurts, Elma doesn't have any choice but to accept her fate. Before her tears can even fall down, Mimi then rushes towards her to comfort her. Elma can't remove the thought that she and Mimi have now switched positions. Mimi then tries to soften Hito's heart towards Elma. And just like that, he ended up using all of the earnings he had gained during the operation to pay off Elma's debt. This made Elma flustered, knowing that she had been harsh and rude towards Hito for the longest time now. But in the end, he was still the one that helped her from experiencing so much possible agony. But as we all know, Hito wouldn't do such a thing without any exchange. It turns out that he wants Elma to join his crew. Although he already has Mimi on his side, someone veteran and has great knowledge of ships should come in handy, and Hito can't think of anyone fit for the job other than Elma. Aside from the fact that she will also get paid for her work, she will also have a place to stay. That's why, even if it's embarrassing, Elma decided to accept Hito's offer. On the other hand, Serena has received reports regarding Elma paying her 3 million debt in a span of a few days. She already knows that the higher-ups are the ones behind this extreme scrapping of mercenaries' money. However, what really amazes her is the fact that Elma has 3 million NL on hand. She even thought of quitting the army and becoming a mercenary if they made that much money. When Elma finally enters Hito's ship, she's in disbelief that a mercenary ship would be so luxurious. Hito then reasons that they went to buy an automatic cooking unit and such a thing just sort of happened. But before Elma can even talk anymore, Hito quickly cuts her off and states that she should go take a bath already. This made Elma flustered as she thought of other reasons why Hito would say such a thing. Hito then went on to say that she had been through a lot for the past week, so it was quite apparent that she should just go and wash her exhaustion along with her 1 week's worth of dirt. Since Elma is still new to the ship, Mimi went on ahead to guide her on how to use the shower. While the two are inside the shower, Hito tries to think of ways he can earn some money considering his wallet has been feeling pretty cold. He aims to become a bounty hunter and hunt for small groups of pirates while the star system security isn't that tight yet. Considering these groups have been getting more active lately, it will just be a matter of time before he can save up 1 million enel once again. His contemplations were disrupted when Elma entered the room in her sexiest pajamas. It seems like since earlier, Elma has thought that Hito wants to score on her. That's why he decided to make her one of his crew. However, after they did the thing, that's when Elma fully grasped the situation that Hito didn't intend to use her body in any way. Although the damage had already been done, Elma couldn't deny the fact that she did enjoy her experience with Hito. On the other hand, it seems like Mimi has been worried that with Elma present now, Hito won't be able to do some things for her. That's why before she could even think of any negative things, Hito satisfied her inside the bathroom. After hearing the sensual sounds, Elma now doesn't know what she's gotten herself into. Ever since the large-scale operation, the number of space pirates has decreased drastically, but at the same time, the relations between the Empire and the Federation have been getting even more intense. Although he doesn't plan to participate in the big battle that is about to take place, Hito decides to stay in the star system for a little while longer and make some money. With that said, Elma is seen enjoying a drink with a big smile on her face. It seems like she is happier that they have made more money that day than Hito. It turns out that Hito is able to hit his target amount in such a short period of time. Their plan went better than expected. The pirates who were targeting mining ships in the asteroid belt were seen everywhere, considering the Empire relaxed its security. Hito hid among the pirates and hunted them down one by one. Although he thinks that some would be tricky to take down, in the end, they were just parasites in the face of Krisha. As a result, he hit his target of 2 million enel in 1 week. Now with all this money, Elma tells Hito that they should go shopping the next day. After all, Mimi wasn't able to enjoy her reward on the last operation. Mimi quickly states that it is not necessary considering she's still a newbie, and she feels like she shouldn't be compensated at all. However, Elma wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. After all, Mimi has been taking care of Hito for quite some time now, so it's only fair that she gets paid for it. Hito then tells them that if they feel like he is forcing them to stay, they could just go if they want to. The two then immediately shut him out, stating that no one said they didn't like staying. They even went on to tell him the most heartwarming message Hito has ever heard. Knowing that someone wanted to stay with him made Hito teary-eyed. Elma then thought of something that should make Hito happy, and it involved using their bodies. With that said, we all probably know what has happened next. One day after, in the 3rd Section Commerce District, the two girls go on a shopping spree. Hito is able to find some coke at the grocery. This literally made his day. However, after tasting it, its taste is nowhere to be compared to the taste of coke in the real world. Nonetheless, Hito, being a coke addict, decides to purchase all the coke cases in the grocery store. As they were now about to do their next task and start hunting pirates once more, they were able to come across some Belebaran battleships that disguised themselves as civilian mining ships. And to make it worse, the said battleship is able to take notice of them. Now, what will they do to avoid getting crushed by a big army? Elma is able to follow Hito's orders, while Mimi is still lost with the idea of what will happen next. Hito then types in a trajectory that will make sure to erase any witnesses. That's why whatever the enemy is doing in the area secretively will not reach daylight. Before the enemy attacks them first, Hito decides they'll make a move now to gain momentum. After rushing in, the enemy ship seems not to even get scratched from the hit, which is already apparent to Hito. After a while, Elma then informs Hito that it looks like the shield batteries of the enemy are already slowing down, seeing that they are already running away. But Hito wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. He then rushes in and hits them once more. With that one last blow, the enemy ship exploded immediately. After blowing them away, Hito checks if the ship's black boxes and data cache are alright. Elma then asks him if that data is really that important. Knowing Hito, he already knows that such information would be worth millions if they sell it to the army. Hito assures them to leave up the selling to him since he already has a contract with the said office. Elma doesn't care whatever Hito does as long as he makes sure not to get them involved in any trouble. Hito then assures them that no such trouble will happen, considering they're just selling stuff. However, that wasn't the case at all. After they sell the information, they end up finding themselves taking part in the battle between the Federation and the Empire, which is something all of them are avoiding. With that said, Hito feels gloomy and unmotivated after involving themselves in such big trouble. It seems like Hito has a complete feel for the Empire's talk and doesn't even try to negotiate, even if it is a part of the mercenary's job. While they are at the office, it seems like Hito is able to catch everyone's attention for having 2 cute girls with him. Some even started to question why Hito would be with someone veteran like Elma, who is at rank silver already. Before Hito can even think of negative things, one soldier catches everyone's attention as Serena enters the stage. Serena then thanks everyone for waiting, and she will now start the briefing on the battle to defend the Termine star system. Based on the information Hito has sold them, the Federation military is estimated to be more powerful than the Empire. It is found that the Federation has 8 battleships, 24 heavy cruisers, 32 light cruisers, 64 destroyers, and 128 corvettes. It greatly exceeds the garrison of the Termine system. And since reinforcements are only getting in the system the day after the enemy arrives, it is their task to make sure to hold with what they have for at least a day. In the said plan, Serena's mercenary fleet will hide in an asteroid belt in the enemy fleet's expected invasion route, and when they are there, they will engage in guerrilla combat. The goal is to weaken the speed of their invasion as much as possible. Having said that, the most powerful ships they have will be fighting the destroyers. Anything above that has high-powered shields, so they are not opponents for mercenaries to deal with. With such a plan, Serena tells everyone honestly that it is hard to say that they will have the advantage. That's why she asks if anyone has a plan, and if there is, they should tell her as soon as possible, considering it might be useful. As we all might already know, Hito is the only one who has the guts to be blunt with Serena, and let's just say that his plan is far more absurd than anything else. He plans to use the enemy's warp out reaction to sneak in by himself. Then he is going to get in deep and destroy the enemy's flagship, then withdraw. His plan shocked everyone. Even Serena was speechless by what she had just heard. She can't seem to comprehend if Hito is serious or not. Hito then states that he'll just give it a shot. If the enemy's formation collapses in confusion, it will slow down their invasion. If it fails, it just means that he will be the only one who ends up dying, making the casualties closer to 0%. All of his crew members are not scared and worried for him, but it seems like Hito has already decided on what he'll do. Although the plan is weird, if anyone tries to understand it, Serena decides to accept Hito's suggestion with a grain of salt. Now that Hito is about to go on with one of the most frightening and nerve-wracking missions of his life, Serena tells him to make sure coming back alive since the Empire will make sure he gets paid a ton of reward for risking his life. However, it seems like Elma is not agreeing with his plans. Now that Elma is already boiling in frustration, Hito tells her to calm down. However, Elma couldn't grasp the thought that Hito decided to involve himself in such a thing, knowing that a ship like theirs charging into a fleet is beyond stupid. Hito then explains that he didn't come up with the suggestion without thinking. He then walks toward a trophy case stating that he already has a plan inside, and it involves the fatal singing crystal they were able to collect in the last group raid. After seeing the gigantic and deadly crystal, Elma can't seem to believe that a dangerous weapon is still lying on Hito's ship. Hito then quickly explains that they have been so careful for the last few days that the crystals have been with them, so Elma should worry that much. The singing crystal is a super first class banned item. If this thing bounces and breaks, they're going to be swarmed by a ton of crystal lifeforms. That said, the item would be a really good use for their raid. According to the plan that Hito has made, they're going to ambush close to the enemy fleet's predicted warp out location with the ultra speed drive. And when they warp out, they will stop the ultra high speed drive at the same time. They will also use thermal stealth to hide in the debris and sneak their way towards the enemy flagship. And when they are already close, they will use them with the anti-ship reaction torpedo they have. Mimi then states that she didn't remember seeing anyone using the battleship killer weapon. Elma then quickly explains that it's because it is expensive to use, considering one hit costs 500,000 enel. That's why it is not ideal to use such a weapon if it is not a big fight like this. But going back, once the flagship is down, the chain of command will fall into disarray, and the crystal lifeforms will attack the fleet. The plan is to use this chaos to escape. Elma thinks that Hito's plan is crazy, but she thinks it isn't impossible for Hito and the ship to execute the plan. But she is just furious at the fact that Hito didn't even inform them of his plans and decisions, especially now that they are carrying such a big burden. Their radar then detects several warp reactions. This marks the start of their first attack. Hito then tells his crew to switch to their stealth navigation and move closer to the enemy ship. After finding the flagship store, which is their planned ship to attack, they hit the ship with their weaponized crystals and make their way out of it as soon as possible. After releasing the singing crystal and hitting one of the enemy ships, a number of gigantic crystal debris from all over the place rushes towards the center, destroying almost everything in the area. Mimi and Elma tell Hito to evacuate as soon as possible while they still have time. However, it seems like Hito has something more in mind. He's planning to shoot the ships one by one and get as much lost cargo as possible to sell it for a greater price. Elma can't believe Hito, but she doesn't have anything else to do, and since Hito is the captain, he technically always gets what he wants. After such an intense event, they were able to leave the zone safely. When they got back to the colony, Hito was seen being so happy that he finally was able to collect much of a good haul that would really be a good add-up to his savings. He then happily asks Elma how much they were able to earn that day. Elma is in shock as she calculates the reward for the 3 battleships and 4 heavy cruisers that they were able to take down. They ended up getting around 10,950,000 enel. However, since they will need to subtract fuel and ammo, Hito will be able to obtain a total of 11,130,000 enel in his savings. But it seems like it's still not enough for Hito, considering he is planning to buy a detached house with a garden on a safe planet. Elma then suggested that since Hito wants to earn that much, they should just enter Kraken's government service. With Hito's skills, he'll be able to earn faster after he becomes a knight there. However, it seems like Hito doesn't want to get involved in anything related to the government. But a week later, his plans quickly change when Serena keeps on bugging him to join the army. Every time he says no, the perks become more extravagant. At this point, Hito doesn't know what to do if Serena eventually comes to talk to him personally. It would be like a hunter chasing its prey. That's why Hito decided just to run away. As a result, they are now heading towards the 6-star system, the Elaine system. It's a high-tech star system with medical stations and bio-related colonies. And it is also famous for its synthetic meat and genetically altered crops, which excites the 2 girls. Meanwhile, Serena is talking with one of her uncles. Her uncle wants her to create an independent unit that can move freely and hunt space pirates. This made Serena happy, seeing she is validated now as one of the leaders. That's why she will make sure Hito won't get away. The 3 now have finally reached the Elaine system, a very prosperous star system with 2 inhabitable planets, 3 research colonies, and 1 commercial colony. Since they have a lot of natural resources and state-of-the-art facilities, many merchant ships are constantly coming and going. If there are a lot of merchant ships, Hiro also hypothesized that there might be a lot of pirates too. That's why there's probably no shortage of work in the said system. But before all the hunting, they first must look for a place to stay. They all decided to go to the commercial colony, considering they would be able to engage in other recreational activities compared to the research facility. On their way to the colony, Mimi is able to pick up a distress signal. It seems like civilian ships are being chased down by pirates. And so suddenly, the battle begins. But the enemies are running away, activating their FTL drives. On the other hand, the ship they were able to save thanks them for the rescue. And since the pirates were able to hit the civilian ship undercarriage, the captain asks if Hiro and his crew can guard them until the army arrives. Hiro then immediately asks that his service is not for free, and they must be properly compensated. The captain then states that there are no worries about that since they will get the rewards at the office. And just like that, they got themselves a deal. When they finally arrived at the colony, they were shocked to see that it was bigger than the Termine Prime colony. But before they even land, they first jot down their agenda for the day. First, they will sell the booty they got from the pirates, contact Inagawa Technologies, and get the reward. Mimi then insisted that she would be the one to sell the items they had. All pumped up, the two agreed and let Mimi handle things this time around. That said, they then make their way to the army station and get the reward. It seems like the colony always stays nighttime with all of its nightlights. When they finally reach the station, they are shocked that they are getting paid 50,000 for 2 ships, but the officer assures that Hiro's crew deserves it. While walking back home, Hiro started to get curious that the said colony had been hiding their weapons somewhere safe. However, since he doesn't have any answers or hypotheses to such questions, he just diverted his focus to finding food to eat. After such a long day, when they finally get back to the ship, Mimi then tells Hiro that they should go to a medical center and have their health checkup. Since Mimi has been checking their ratings, it seems like it doesn't look good at all. Hiro then thought that it would be a good idea considering they were in a place like a lane, complete with all the materials they needed. Mimi is quite concerned for Hiro above all considering he has memory loss, and it would be a shame if he ended up getting worse. Little did she know that Hiro had been lying to them all this time. However, it seems like Elma is able to read through Hiro as she states that she thinks Hiro's memory loss is all a lie. Hiro went speechless for a while, but he quickly denied such accusations and stated that he wasn't lying at all. But it seems like Elma doesn't believe his words at all. Elma then stated that it wouldn't hurt if he told her his secret. At first, Hiro hesitated, but in the end, he decided to tell her everything that had happened, no matter how absurd it may sound to her. He then states everything from the beginning to the end. However, after hearing all of Hiro's words, it seems like Elma still doesn't believe such things are even possible to happen. But as she thinks about how Hiro is not able to get accustomed to the world's values, and considering he also doesn't have any records at all, as if he came out of nowhere, Elma slowly starts to believe his claims. However, as she analyzes that the parts in Hiro's ship are compatible with what is in their world, and the fact that Hiro has been doing well since he knows so much about the mercenaries' world, Elma then starts to speculate once again. Hiro then tells her that he is not a mercenary in the real world, but an office worker instead. But what made Elma make a face was when Hiro stated to her that he got sucked into a game, which is the place he is now. Although all the information Hiro has stated to her has now started to confuse her more, Elma still thinks that everything Hiro says is actually making sense. But before they jump to conclusions, Hiro also thinks that he might have been living in the said place for a long time already and might have just lost his memory and identity along the process. Nonetheless, instead of stressing out about such things, Hiro decides to take the girls on a shopping spree. He's quite shocked to see that there are a lot of diverse species in the said colony. While they were walking down the street, they were able to come across a dress shop which Mimi's eyes were fixed on. Hiro then takes her there to shop for new clothes, and after she tried 1, 2, 3, and more dresses, Hiro ended up buying everything as he enjoyed the view. After shopping, they also went to the mercenary guild in the Elaine colony. After registering, they then decided to grab some food to eat since Hiro was getting a bit peckish. However, while they were still at the office, as they were about to check their accounts, the officer then told them that they had received a message from the Inagawa Technology that said about the reward. The proposed price is 500,000 enel. Hearing this made Mimi think of something. Since they want to get their bodies checked up, why not just visit the Inagawa-operated hospital instead? She then asks the lady officer if she can ask them for referrals for a physical exam for Hiro, and just like that, they found themselves in a big hospital already. While they were still outside, they were able to come across a food truck. But it seems like Hiro and Mimi didn't like the taste of it as much, considering even if it says farm fresh, it feels like they just served something straight from the food cartridges. As they enter the hospital facility, a Pac-Man-like robot welcomes them, stating that he is a navigation unit that will guide Elma and the others along the facility. They then follow the cute robot till they reach the doctor's clinic. The doctor then introduced herself, stating that she was Shoko, the assigned doctor for the day. After the brief introduction, they immediately started with the said physical checkups right away. Dr. Shoko then asks for their medical history, and Hiro states that his memories of his life before are getting hazy already. Dr. Shoko then quickly states that it's like he was thrown into this world all of a sudden. With that said, Dr. Shoko then ended up deciding that she would perform a variety of tests to ensure that every single abnormality inside Hiro's body was analyzed. They start with the full scan in the medical pod. Hiro is quite amazed by the size of the facility, which makes Dr. Shoko thrilled. She's quick to brag that the facility has top-notch performing devices. Hearing all this information from her made Hiro think that she should have been doing research instead. But Dr. Shoko, who turns out to be one of the passengers from the ship that Hiro's crew have saved, assures that she is a top-tier doctor and researcher at the same time. After running all of the necessary tests, Dr. Shoko is able to discover that other than the fact that Hiro doesn't have a multilingual translation implant like most of them do, he also has unique humanoid genes. That's why, since such discovery is so rare, she asks him if he could sell some of his genes for 3 million enel. Knowing Hiro, he immediately bites at the offer, not knowing that he'll be giving blood and semen samples. Dr. Shoko even tries to provoke him by stating that he can look forward to the harvesting method. As a natural response, Hiro is immediately flustered by such comments. He even asks what kind of service she offers, indicating he is also looking forward to it. As Dr. Shoko leans forward, Hiro starts stuttering like crazy. She then wears her gloves and proceeds with the procedure. Hiro screams, but we don't know if it's because of pleasure or pain. With that said, as Mimi and Elma entered the room, they start wondering what had happened to Hiro, struggling even to stand up. Dr. Shoko then assures them that Hiro is alright and that they don't have anything to worry about. It turns out that Hiro had just undergone a vaccination session, so nothing feisty did really happen. Aw, what a bummer. On the other hand, Dr. Shoko is really curious about Hiro's past, but it seems like Hiro is not comfortable talking about such a delicate subject anymore. However, despite this, Dr. Shoko is still blunt on saying that she has many things she wants to investigate. Hiro then quickly shuts her down, stating that she should dig into the genetic data first. Elma then asks if Hiro's examination is already complete, which it is. Mimi then suggests that while they are waiting for the result, they should grab something to eat. Before they leave, Dr. Shoko then reminds them that they should take a rest for at least 3 days, considering they just had their shots of vaccines. Then, before she can even forget, she then calls on Mimi and Elma and tells them something in private. But it seems like Mimi is the only one that accepts the said statement wholeheartedly, while Elma is seen sulking. Now that the physical examination has officially been completed, the details of the examination will be sent to the ship. However, the only thing that stuck in their mind was the fact that the whole examination cost 90,000 enel. It seems like even in their high-tech world, medical expenses are still inevitably expensive. After a long day of walking and examinations, they already arrive at the ship, about to take their much-needed rest. However, Elma is seen visiting Hiro's room. She seemed occupied and spaced out, so when Hiro snaps her back to reality, she then jumps right onto him, about to say something. However, before she could even tell the exact whole word, she ended up passing out all because of drunkenness. The next day, Hiro is confused that Elma can make babies. Although it is known that elves couldn't make babies after they became adults, there are some exceptions, like if the elf girl suddenly built an emotional connection with the person they can make the baby with. This made Hiro assume that Elma might be very much in love with him. His statement made Elma blush, indicating that it might actually be the case. But before all of that, they decided to have a tour of one of the most popular places in the system. Hiro thinks that it would be such a nice opportunity to learn more about this world. However, even if Mimi and Hiro are so excited about the tour, it seems like Elma is worried that they are about to enter Sierra Corp, the lab-grown meat manufacturer. That's why instead of coming with the two, Elma decides to leave and act as if she remembered something she had to do. However, since she is acting all strange, Hiro is able to see through her actions, stopping her from leaving. Hiro then asks her why did the sign make her want to run and why did she call it lab-grown meat instead of artificial meat. Mimi explains that some meats are different in their world, and lab-grown meat is one of them. That said, instead of letting Elma slip away for no reason, Hiro drags her inside the factory. As they enter the factory, an announcement system welcomes them. Hiro, on the other hand, is amazed at the fact that the factory's door is quite strong. However, his amazement turns the other way as the tour continues. As they enter what seems to be an open, empty room, they find themselves moving as the room moves on its own. Meanwhile, Elma is seen sulking and warning them not to blame her for what they are about to witness. As the tour continued, Mimi and Hiro didn't anticipate how lab-grown meat is made. It turns out that this meat specifically is made of a monster. To make it even worse, the tour even showed them how the monster is taken apart. For a while, Mimi even thought of not being able to eat meat for a while. However, in just a split second, she found herself getting pumped up to go on to the next tour. They are now at the Mika Core, where it is so bright and lively. Mika Core is a hydroponic farm where they grow veggies of different kinds. Mimi then notices something in the facility. Elma then explains that the green pools they are seeing are algae, which is the main ingredients in cartridges. Apparently, its fertilizers are made from waste collected from ships. Hearing this made Hiro think that certain things from the real world like recycling are also practiced in this world, showing no difference other than the fact that it is full of extracelestial creatures and is literally in space. After the tour at Mika Core ended, they then moved on to the next, now a beverages factory called Koryu Beverages, which is known to be the leading brewery in the Empire. As they enter the facility and go on with the tour, Hiro is shocked to know that the fruit used in the brewery is alcoholic in itself. This made him think that genetic engineering in this world is no joke. After their tour at Koryu, they immediately went home to mark their day to an end. The next day, Elma is seen getting scolded by Hiro for literally buying so many drinks worth 100,000 enel, but it seems like they immediately became okay, laughing at each other. Hiro then states that she will have no booze for a week, which shocks Elma. Hiro then reminds her that if she ever tries to sneak in a drink, he will give her a taste of what Dr. Shoko has given him. This terrified Elma, and as a result, she ended up agreeing with what Hito had asked for. Hito is then seen roaming around the central area, trying to kill much of his time as he is now so bored of staying home while they are resting. He didn't bring the two girls with him since Elma was sulking because she couldn't drink while Mimi was working on her operator lessons. Hito doesn't complain that he's all alone. After all, spending some carefree time by himself once in a while isn't so bad. He then looks around the commerce area trying to find game consoles. While he is walking, he comes across the same alleyway he saved Mimi. There, he sees Dr. Shoko getting harassed by some grown old man. Hito and the man then fight, and as a result, the man ends up getting his hands cut off by Hito. The authorities then flock to the area one by one, trying to report everything that has happened. Mimi and Elma also arrive at the scene, with Elma looking so disappointed at the fact that Hito keeps on attracting trouble on his own. They then ask Dr. Shoko what has happened. Dr. Shoko then explained that she was just walking from the hospital to the lab in hopes she could start with her research. However, a group of men came attacking her, with the majority of them taking the briefcase she was carrying. Although the said men tried to take her with them, she kept on resisting until she was able to run away. However, one of the men kept chasing her, and she ended up in the alley where Hito had found her. When asked what she thinks is the motive of the men for abducting her, she answers that she herself doesn't know, but she thinks it might be because of the briefcase she is carrying. It turns out that inside the briefcase is one of the most confidential and important data that ever existed. It's none other than Hito's DNA data. This made Hito worried for his safety, knowing that people would now know of his existence. But on the brighter side, he kept on not showing any signs of extreme stress. Dr. Shoko is then seen taken by the institution's men as he's now about to get punished. On the other hand, back at their ship, the three didn't anticipate finding an unexpected guest. It turns out it's Serena who hasn't given up on recruiting Hito to her newly formed anti-pirate mercenary group. Serena thought that Hito owed her a favor for allowing him to engage in the said mission involving the singing crystal. She honestly thinks that if it weren't for coincidence, Hito wouldn't get much recognition he has today. Little did she know that Hito already had the singing crystal on his own. It honestly seems like she should be thankful for Hito, since if it weren't for him, she wouldn't have been promoted into becoming a lieutenant. That said, Serena keeps on insisting that Hito should join her. However, Hito has already decided that no matter what she does, he will never join her team, considering that she might leave him if troubles are about to arise. But instead of giving up, Serena is seen getting pumped up and is now even more dedicated to making Hito join her team. After all, she doesn't like to let her prey get away, and she's willing to do anything to make them stay. But it seems like Mimi and Elma are now more alert than ever in guarding their master. To avoid any unnecessary conflicts on his end, Hito ends up agreeing with Serena and takes up her offer. With that said, Hito's whole crew ended up getting back to the terrain system. As soon as they get there, Hito immediately works as the fleet's tactical advisor. He technically tells the whole team what tactics they should do and how they were able to defeat the space pirates in one go. But before we dive into that, let's have a little flashback. It seems like Hito really didn't want to join any of Serena's teams. However, after Mimi and Elma persuade him to do so, considering they can't believe how easily Hito can talk to the noble in a casual way, he ends up doing what Serena asks for the sake of his crewmates. It is known that in this world, nobles can kill commoners without repercussions as long as they have a reason. That's why Mimi and Elma are terrified at the fact that they might end up getting killed if Hito continues his rude behavior towards Serena. With that said, he ended up doing what he hated doing. After introducing himself to everyone, he immediately went straight ahead to his lectures. He teaches the army about crucial information about the pirates and how they work. He also mentioned that the pirates might already know about the existence of the anti-pirate group, considering some of its members are among the civilians walking down the streets of the colony. He also shows them the map of the Termine star system before and after the recent search and destroy operation. And as everyone can see, the space pirates' point of operations have changed completely. All this information made the soldier overwhelmed, but they didn't really have a choice, did they? Since all the encounters with space pirates and reports of their activity happen outside the areas the army is monitoring, it is quite apparent that there is an information leak. That's why Hito suggests that the composition of the said anti-pirates fleet should be re-examined on a fundamental level. He also recommended that the fleet should stop using big ships, considering it wouldn't be much practical use considering pirates work in asteroid belts and places with a lot of debris. So, Hito thinks that the fleet should start using destroyers and corvettes, but it seems like Serena isn't that okay with Hito's suggestion. As a result, Hito ended up using the noble's pride to get what was needed. Hito asks her how far she's willing to go for the people of the Empire. And since a lot of people are watching the lecture, Serena immediately answers that as a proud noble, if there's anything she can do, she is willing to do it. And in just a few days, she is able to give the fleet 32 ships in total worth 5 million enel. That same day, the first operation also started. Hito decided to use a transport ship as bait, since if they were to initiate the attacks, there's a tendency that the pirates would just run away. As a result, Hito decided to make the pirates come to them. This way, Hito can get 20% of the pirates' bounty, and the fleet will also get what they want. Serena then reminds Hito that even after the operation ends, he will still continue to accompany them, considering his contract hasn't ended yet. Even after work, Serena is seen inviting Hito to grab something to eat. Hito, on the other hand, seemed weirded out by the action of the noble. However, Serena went on to explain that she just wanted to eat while working and that she was taking him with her so that they could talk about the next lectures for the upcoming meeting. However, Serena didn't anticipate that Mimi and Elma would also come to their supposed date. As a result, Hiro hopes that nothing bad will happen in just a while. They all ride Serena's limousine. Hiro then thanks Elma for coming since it seems like he didn't want to be alone with Serena. While Elma is all looking happy and giddy, Mimi on the other hand looks very gloomy and irritated. Mimi then tells Hiro that he shouldn't let his guard down. Hiro then assures her that it's all for work and nothing dangerous will happen. In the midst of the intense tension, Serena then finally talks, telling Mimi that they are going to the most popular restaurant in the district where they serve organic foods. Mimi's mood immediately changes after hearing about food. As they reach their destination, Mimi says that she is kind of nervous. Serena tells her not to be since she will definitely enjoy what they are about to experience. She also informs them that she has arranged for a private room, so they should just forget about etiquette. With that said, if Hiro ended up coming with her when there were just the two of them, God knows what might have happened. Hiro even thought of remembering what Mimi said, that he should always watch out for the noble. When they have already entered the room, the food is immediately served. The noble, Serena, starts out eating the food in the most ladylike way. However, when the wine was already served, she immediately boozes up in alcohol. She then started shouting her emotions out, saying that they were all the same, looking down on her because she was a woman. Hearing all these emotional outbursts made the three speechless. It turns out that Serena has also shared her own take on Hiro, stating why can't he give her the same attention. Hiro then states that she's too pushy. It seems like she is so jealous of the fact that Mimi and Elma are able to enjoy Hiro's company, even if she saw him first. She felt like it was just unfair on her part that she had been left alone. This also made Hiro reflect for a bit. She then went on to say that she was the one who saved him from the Port Authority, but why is he treating her like shit? To flush away her pain, she drinks more and more alcohol. Now that Serena is already passed out, Hiro doesn't know what he'll do next. Elma then emotionlessly suggested that they should just finish eating and leave. However, Hiro can't do such a thing knowing that Serena is a noble. So instead of getting an extension in the expensive restaurant, they ended up taking her to the ship. While the girls are attending to Serena inside the medical pod, Hiro then contemplates what Serena has said earlier. But instead of thinking of it that much, he shakes off the thought and tells himself to just forget about it for both of their sakes. The girls then inform Hiro that the princess is finally awake. As they get inside the room, to make things less awkward, Hiro told the noble that they should just forget about everything. Hearing this made Serena flustered, maybe due to embarrassment. She then immediately leaves the ship. Afterward, the space pirate mop-up operation went without a hitch. However, they still need to up their game. That's why Serena has suggested that they should attack one of the pirates' bases again this time around. She even asks Hiro to participate in the raid as a mercenary. Hiro gladly accepted the tasks, of course, with the said well-deserved compensation. Elma and Mimi look forward to the said raid, considering that it will be their first real battle in a while. The strategy this time around is almost exactly the same as the last mop-up operation, so they didn't really have a hard time adjusting. As many pirate ships rush towards them, they prepare themselves as they are about to get rich once again. However, it seems like the enemy has locked their focus on Hiro's team. It looks like they were trying to crush them and create an escape route. Although it's not really a bad idea, Hiro wouldn't let any of them escape. Hiro tries to maneuver Krishna the best way he can. However, even with the ship's inertia control, they are still having a hard time. Some of the pirates are starting to attack them from behind and front. However, with Hiro's space driving skills and the ammo built into the ship, everything seems to be going smoothly. But after defeating a few, Mimi is able to pick up more enemy ships coming their way. Around 7 big ones and 2 medium ones are among them. Now it's time for the transport vessels to be remodeled to fit in as support missiles to take part in the fight. Hiro leaves the missile control to Elma, and one by one, she's able to blow away the enemy ships, starting with the medium ones. However, Mimi then acquires new data, stating that various heat sources are approaching from the medium-sized ships, which turn out to be heat-seeking missiles. Elma then orders for flares to be released. Amidst this intense fight, Hiro keeps a victory smirk on his face, already knowing that no matter what, he will always win the fight. With that said, the new coming enemy ships are wiped out in minutes. The closest ones are located at 10 o'clock, so Hiro orders that they should keep going no matter what. This way, they'll be able to make money to fill their bank accounts with. Meanwhile, back at the fleet ship, Serena is seen checking up on the status of the operation. She's quite delighted that the tide of the battle is overwhelmingly in their favor. After all, their fleet has already destroyed their largest hangar bay. Thanks to it, the mercenaries are now able to contain them in one place. That's all we have for today. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified if we upload part 2 of the series. Until next time, bye!